Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. You can find me on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. Spelling GaelenTrombley. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 49 of the Galen Trombley Show. Today, I am lucky enough to have two, podcast OGs of the North Country. Can I say that? Is that fine?
Yes.
That's fine.
Is that a compliment or no?
Is that a cool way to say it?
Yeah, it's I mean, considering we just talked right before we hit the record button, we were saying that we've been doing it a little over a year. So it's just funny to call us OGs after like 13 months.
There's not a lot. I mean, I've almost...
True.
When did you guys start? Okay, sorry, guys.
I forget how small the North Country is sometimes, really.
We have Trashberg in the house. We have Matt Hall and Austin Petrashun. So we're just going to get right into it. But, okay. No, you guys started when?
It was early summer.
Summer 2018. Mm-hmm. Although Matt Waite has everyone beat, I believe.
Yeah.
How long's Matt been doing it?
I think 6 months ahead of anyone else.
So he's probably a year and a half in?
Yeah, I believe so.
Because I am going to hit a year in December. So you guys just hit a year.
Yeah,
recently.
Cool.
Year in June or July.
So if anybody has not heard of these guys, Trashberg, they're actually, and I was a little bit behind the eight ball on it. I had heard of you guys before. I never actually really kind of listened to some episodes, and now I've listened to probably 4 or 5 recent ones, and they're funny. So you guys, it's called Funny News Locally.
Yeah,
Local
that's
news
the
funnily.
tag. Either one.
Funny
Either
news
or.
locally. Okay, so
Both are applicable, I think.
Basically, it's like
I say I like it reversed because it's not always funny news. Sometimes it's like, man murders child. Like it's not funny.
Yeah, it's not really
at
fun.
all.
It's not funny, but I think you guys put a spin on it that is funny.
Right, we try to.
I mean, it's more. There's more comedy than there is anything else. There's a lot of actually dry sarcasm.
Oh, yeah, it's more of an irreverent look at the news
yes.
than a funny look at the news.
So the way I would describe it, it's kind of like a Daily Show meets like Walter Cronkite meets like Barstool Sports.
I could see that.
Yeah,
It's like a good mixture.
Yeah.
Originally, we kind of modeled it after one of those kind of late night shows / Daily Show funny news things. Anyway, and then it kind of morphed into what it is.
So how obviously there's more than you guys, but who started the idea? Who usually who's a regular on? Like I know there's usually 3 to 4 people that do the show. So who's kind of regulars? You guys have guests on the show. Sometimes it's just. Have you ever done solo episodes? Like, kind of give people.
It's hard to explain. So it started in late 2015 as like a web series. It was like a sketch comedy show kind of thing, a variety show of sorts where there was different contributions from different local people who kind of just had like funny ideas, and we put together a couple years worth of a sketch show before eventually taking on the podcast and moving away from sketch comedy and more looking at the comedy in everyday life.
Now, you're from Syracuse.
Yes.
And then you're from Saranac.
Mm-hmm.
So who else is on the show? Everybody, are they local?
So our regular contributors right now are Liz Allen, who is basically a local.
Yeah,
I think she's from
far away, but
Kansas
a long
or
time
something?
ago. Missouri or something. I don't know.
Who knows? And then Andrew Taylor, who is from Saranac.
I think Katie'ville, I believe. But he's a local. I've known him for a long time.
They've been living here the majority of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are what, about 30?
Yeah, that's the
We're all about
median.
the same age,
We have
right?
a good spread too. Like,
I'm 20. I'm 29. What are you guys?
I'm 28 and a half.
31.
Okay.
And I think Liz is 34.
Something like that.
33.
So she's the
And then Andrew is 25.
Andrew's like 25.
So we have like
okay.
almost a 10-year span amongst us. And it's pretty evenly distributed. So
No, that's good. So basically, how do you guys come up with the content for the show? Because it is fairly. How often do you guys record? And then the other aspect of it is like I try to do this once a week. Today, this is actually 2 back-to-back shows between yesterday and today. They're usually once a week. You guys, how often do you actually record? And then also, how do you come up with the news? You scanning the Press Republican? You scanning articles online?
It's like a news aggregator. So we kind of take the local news that's happening every week and kind of just pick what we think are the top 5, 6 headlines at the most, and kind of dissect and discuss. And so we do it every Sunday evening, and it's usually up online by early Monday morning.
Yeah, and we try to do it strictly too.
Yeah,
there's very few times that we missed it.
Even if we're traveling, we try to do like a quick episode from the road, or we'll have something. We try to never miss a week.
And I think that's one of the keys. So when I came up with the podcast idea, was to hit. My goal was 52 by the end of year one. Mm-hmm. You guys are 49, so I mean, I will hit that goal. So I mean, I
think we're actually 64.
66.
So you guys you're about right then, once a week. Yeah. So I think the consistency aspect matters, because I know some people that get into it and they filter out, and they they miss a couple weeks or even a month, or they come back for strong for like 2 weeks, or 2 months. So no, that's kind of the good thing. I think you guys are gaining some traction on. And also, you guys do the filming aspect, right?
Yep.
Camera.
Yeah. Recently, we it started as audio only, and then we started shooting it, and then in the last couple of weeks, we started live streaming it, which is way better to me.
I love that aspect of it.
I think it's always trying to find ways to make it more interactive and more of a community-based thing, because it is for the local people here and really not for anyone else. Although we do have plenty of listeners who are not from the area, which is funny, but
some who were never from the area.
Yeah.
Like sometimes there'll be people who left, but sometimes it's just never had a connection in the first place.
Yeah, like we have a lot of guys who are like active duty, and they listen back to the show to like see what's going on at home, that kind of stuff. But it's nice to have local people interact live with the show and kind of fill us in when we're wrong.
Yeah. Because that was something that from the outset, that was important to me, and it was like almost an open forum, public forum. Like, it wasn't necessarily going to be for fixed people. And early, for the first, 40 episodes or something, we had a different person on almost every time.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like a seat. Someone in the town can come on and talk and give their piece. And we kind of get like a reaction from a cross-section of Plattsburgh. That's how it went for a while. And then we realized that it was very inconsistent doing that. But we still want to. I think it still works in that aspect of public input.
Yeah, I do like saying, like you said, like kind of open forum, because I've organized a couple community forums over the years when certain topics have come up that I felt like we needed to talk about and address as a group, and it's cool to kind of shape this into something that maybe is just existing as that on a regular basis.
So for you guys, are you like, how did you guys get into something like this? I mean, obviously there's a mixture of, one, you got to like the news. I mean, in a sense, I know it's not just a news show, but you guys obviously try to take something funny. I'll be honest, I know pretty much nothing when it comes to current events, especially worldwide or nationally. Local stuff, I kind of know a little bit, but you guys actually talking about it, I actually get more news from you guys, which is, for what it's worth, like I said, which is good. It puts a better spin than just reading it out of the press, but I don't get the paper. I really don't check any local news. So when I listen to you guys, it's kind of funny because you bring up, and the reference points too. You say something, I know the reaction, or I know what you're referring to, whether it be like a slang term like Wiggletown. Everybody knows what Wiggletown is. You know what I mean? It's these ideas that you can say something locally and we know exactly what you're talking about. But did you guys get into it because of that? Or you guys obviously talked about audio, so you have a mixture of that background too? Was you kind of merging everything, like the obviously the comedy part of it? Because you guys all have different sense of humor. A lot of you guys are more dry than others. I find that you're way more dry. I find that it seems like Liz was more sarcastic. You just seem all over the place in a good way, though. Just kind of like you bounce around a lot and kind of moderate the whole thing. So yeah. Where do you guys find that was the inspiration for it, or what was really your true background? I mean, was it news? I mean, did you care much about the news, or you just like, this is kind of a fun thing to do?
Well, I mean, I like to do it because I kind of feel like an audience member in that it's also how I get my news. I mean, it's really, a lot of it comes from Matt curating what we see each week when it comes down to it. He does a lot of the footwork on gathering the stories.
Yeah.
But he'll bounce stuff off of us too. But he is kind of the ringleader when it comes to the organization.
I think of myself as a incognito community organizer, and I've been involved in local activism and politics to different degrees for the whole time I've lived here. And I think that one thing I found to be very true is that the average young person is not involved in politics or current events on a national or local scale at all. And I think Clinton County, it's not even I think, Clinton County is, it's rather corrupt. It's a real good old boy kind of place. It's a lot of the same people, same old money making deals to keep themselves in power and comfortable, and it's very hard for people to shake things up. It's very hard for young people to have any sort of progressive role in the community or in politics. And I think just step one is maybe just getting educated that there's a world out there and there are people who are making decisions for you, and you could be a part of that process. There is civic engagement, but I don't think the average young person would ever consider like that they can run for a local office or they can change things if they don't like things. But how are you going to do that if you don't even know what's happening?
So yeah, I do see it I do see what we do, as much as it can be funny and irreverent and sometimes frivolous. I think it is a public service, and that's what keeps me going with it, rather than just enjoying it. I feel like I can assist in that goal of like an activism almost, or just educating people. Because again, it's like an aggregator. We don't have like a lot of people don't have a good solid source for the disparate places you can get information around here. So we can help put that in one place and also humanize these stories and give it a filter between like an actual conversation, a dialogue, rather than just a one-way direction of that.
What I like it from, there's like a couple things. Like obviously, again, where do you get most of the news? Is it like local news?
Oh, it's just
paper,
from local
just watching
sources. Yeah, the papers, the local TV stations, radio. Some of it is listener submitted. Sometimes we'll get a hot tip.
Yeah, or even just something on Facebook we see that's local, that we can see is taking off.
So you guys obviously come up with this. So
the
one thing it's like, and there's some that, whether it be the person that took a shit down by our house, which I listened to that one, or
that was rough,
or it can be like you said. I know you guys talk a lot about like the was it DRI, and there's some other bigger things that you see more in the news. It could be down to like kind of like a satire, or kind of like funny little thing on whatever it could be, But I do like how you guys take news. You do put your opinion on, but you do, like I said, you humanize it in the sense that you take what we'll see in I guess. What you see out of the paper and the news, there's obviously a lot of level of professional. They chop it up. They want to present like a PR type thing. And then you guys can kind of strip it down and say, well, this is what we know, or here's our opinion, or here's maybe something that maybe why we might challenge what they're saying, in whether it be the paper or the article or the news story, why we agree with it, or maybe here's another viewpoint from it, or here's kind of the devil's advocate of it. So
totally.
I find you guys kind of have a good balance of that both ways. The one thing that I've really... Do you guys follow sports at all?
Yeah, to a degree.
A little bit. So, I mean, we mentioned before, like Barstool Sports versus ESPN. ESPN for the longest time was the top of the chain, the big dog. And what's happened is Barstool Sports has completely taken it over. And I find that you guys are very much, you're taking that same aspect. I mean, I love golf, still play it a lot. I listen to Barstool Sports golf podcast all the time. I don't watch ESPN. I don't watch anything. A Golf Channel I don't really watch. So I watch these guys basically be like me and my buddies making fun of golfers or the funny aspects of golf, but that's what you want to hear. And like, this is awesome. It's entertaining. So I find that you guys just do it. Obviously, like you said, local news funny news locally.
Formality is kind of dead for a lot of young people. And when I say young people, I guess I mean people under 40.
I see it not just as formality. I mean, formality I see that as a branching out of centralization of media.
True. Yes.
Like we are able to do this now. We have a consumer electronic right on the table that's allowing us to do this very conveniently compared to what it would have been 40 years ago or something.
Well, like you said, the cost of entry, barrier to entry is very low, and there's the good thing about the internet, there's no gatekeeper. There's nobody telling you
right now.
Yeah. Right now, as currently, there's nobody telling you if you record something, you can't upload it to Facebook, YouTube, Podbean, whatever you guys use to have people listen to it.
Well, you can be deplatformed pretty quickly if you say
that's true. You can get.
Well, have you guys been kicked off of anything?
No, but
because there's some stuff you guys say that's obviously might be kind of towing the line
sure it's
a
matter
little
of time.
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff I listen to. I'm like, we went there, but that's all right. Like,
there's some people I like who have been removed from major platforms because their ideas kind of just challenge the status quo too much, and whether I agree with them or not, I do see it as like a kind of like weird slippery slope to not, that we don't always kind of openly acknowledge like that it is not as open of a forum as we think it is. I guess is the way I'd put it.
Yeah. There are still centralized arbiters.
Yeah, like
arbitrators.
Facebook, YouTube, all these places that they can remove you or your content for whatever reason they see fit, and there is no they don't have to give a reason.
Even Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
Yeah.
whatever, they could probably take you off. Like,
But even at that, I mean, technically, those are companies owned by people. You know, I mean, if you go all the way to the top, so they, I mean, it'd be like anything. If they grow, they still have a say. I mean, I know Facebook, Google. I mean, all these big companies will get. There's more backlash because they affect millions of people.
Totally.
But it's the idea that you can still like the Trashberg studio, which I'll ask you about. But like you guys from there can broadcast this all around the world. Like you said, people are deployed and they're out there listening to it. For most likely, depending how much money, you probably have a very small investment into it versus what you maybe needed 10 to 20 years ago.
yeah.
To even be
totally.
Besides, like
close. So
maybe
it's,
a local access type thing.
Yeah.
That's probably the only way you could do something like this.
but the quality's much better. I mean, I listen to
True.
yours
Totally.
and the quality, the mixing. I mean, a lot of the stuff, like I kind of invest in all this stuff. The quality's pretty good. I wish my studio wasn't a little bit more acoustically, favorable, but it's not. But the idea is that we can kind of push this stuff out very easily. Now, for you guys have a couple things coming up, which, like I said, we're going to have this out pretty good, or pretty fast. Is talk to me about, and I want to see how you guys do this, because I think it'll be tough. A 12-hour marathon?
Yes. So
That's new. That's coming up. You haven't done that yet, right?
no, that will be on Sunday, the 15th of September, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. It'll be streaming live on Facebook. It's a kind of a follow up to a 24-hour marathon that we did maybe in December.
I forget when it was.
Did you actually do that?
Yeah, we did a 24-hour marathon, and it was grueling and stupid.
It was for a totally different reason, dude.
Yeah, it was to help a friend raise money to put an album out.
Did you guys talk the whole time? Was it like?
Well, it was
it
based
was-
out of Matt's home office,
Yes,
basically.
we did it in shifts essentially.
So you'd come in, talk for an hour or two. You'd come in, maybe both of you together.
It was a lot more. It was
It's freewheeling.
yeah. It was all over the place. This
Some
yes. This
songs.
wasn't
'Cause he
necessarily
was,
like related to the Trash Cast or anything. It was more just like. It was more
You just like marathons.
Yeah. I think marathons are cool.
So that's fine. So I mean, like this one at the 12-hour marathon, you guys are gonna
We're doing 12 hours
essentially
because
it's gonna be on film and talking.
24
Yes.
is grueling.
Because 24 after about 13 hours, nobody was watching except for like
Right,
one or two
right.
people. We had a good steady audience for the first 12 hours. Not necessarily the same people, but the numbers were there.
Yeah.
After about 13 hours, the numbers went down to the single digits, and it was like that.
like, well,
this is
I'm gonna
not
sleep.
worth it.
Especially, I mean, middle of the night, nobody's listening. Probably anybody watching.
Yeah, no, we always had one or two people, which
Someone in Holland.
yes, it's almost depressing to think about, but maybe they were very homesick.
So now, what's the difference between Trashberg and Trashcast?
Trashberg is the overall brand that I have developed, again, established in late 2015, and the Trashcast is the podcast offshoot
Yes,
of that.
The wholly owned subsidiary.
So you guys have. So there's obviously the Trashberg website, which is kind of like your landing for everything.
Yeah,
So everything,
trashberg.com.
and then the Trashcast is purely the voice / obviously the pod. Well, you have video. I mean, like I said, the video is
Yeah.
part of that. So it's the podcast itself. So what are you guys are doing other than both of those? Because I know you guys have. Well, I think there's a shop. There's a shop on there.
There's a
right?
shop on there, yeah. So on the 20th of September,
I've seen your stickers around.
we're doing we're releasing the second issue of our comic book. So we have a comic book anthology, which is all local artists. It doing anywhere from 1 to like 8 pages. And it'll be the second issue we're doing. So it's a quarterly book. So the first one came out at the beginning of summer. The fall issue is dropping on September 20th. We have a release party at City Well, which is the former Champlain Wine Company on City Hall Place, right across from Trinity Park, from like 5 to 7 p.m. And all the artists will be there. They'll be selling prints and signing books. And so the first book, we sold out of the first printing in a couple hours and really got knocked on our asses because people were at the opening trying to buy the book and we were sold out.
How many copies did you make?
I think that was 75 was the first one, which,
Wow.
we were just trying to be conservative. We were like, I don't know if anybody's going to buy this damn
Yeah,
thing.
you could have 50 of those laying around.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
You sold out of all of them because you guys have a Fantastic Planet too, right?
They're at Fantastic Planet. They're at several other shops.
Have you
in the
reprinted
region.
them since?
Yeah, we've done 3 printings of the first issue, and then the next issue that's coming out, we've got a lot more. So we will not be selling out immediately because that's stupid. And then actually the 21st and 22nd will be at the Plattsburgh Comic Con selling the book, but also, pushing the podcast and the show and just kind of saying, hey, look at us. We exist.
So who's the comic book fan? Everybody?
I think you're the biggest one.
I like comics. I like art in general. I like storytelling. It's just another form of storytelling for me. It was our friend Chris Rigsby, who plays music under Adrian Aardvark. People might know that. He came to me and said, what if we do a comics anthology? So an anthology, again, is just like it's a collective kind of effort. So it takes stories from multiple people and puts them all into one book. And we reached out to some local artists and put it together and put the next one together. And we got 2 more coming out very soon after that. And it's going pretty well.
What's the name of the comic called?
Trashberg Comics.
With an X, right?
Yes.
COMI.
The X signifies it's in the tradition of the underground comics, like R. Crumb and stuff like that.
So did either of you guys do the art in it at all?
I have so little association with the comic book.
Yeah, he has nothing to do with
I'm
that.
I'm a promoter, and that's about it.
That's good. That's all right.
I think
You
it's
need
cool.
the
My
hype
sister
man.
does a lot of good stuff for that.
Oh yeah, his sister she did the cover art for this next issue.
Yes,
And
also
her
my
name is
girlfriend.
Kristen, yeah, my sister.
Yeah, it's
has a
Kristen
girlfriend.
Patrashoon. I've got some
Very
pages in
talented.
this next one, and Chris and I are the co-editors. So we, kind of curate the whole thing, and I do all the formatting and dealing with the printer. And
So are you mostly self-taught with everything? Or did you guys go to school for anything like digital or audio?
I went to school for some stuff like, what's something funny I
for
could say? Disappointment.
for college
and
girls.
No, I regret 85 to 90% of my college experience.
We're
But
probably in the same boat there.
I was for speech communication actually.
Okay.
So I guess you could kind of say it applied to my life now.
Oh, you do communicate through speech.
I often do.
Did
Not
you go to
always.
where'd you go? Plastic State?
Went at Potsdam.
Potsdam? Okay.
But I did a lot of music while I was there.
So you
Most
guys,
of my I'm a very musical man. A lot of that was self-taught.
so what do you guys play instrument wise?
We both dabble in everything.
Yeah, everything I get my hands on. I teach a lot of guitar. Guitar's kind of the number one thing I do, but I can do other
What
stuff.
style of music? Because I saw Matt. I saw yours was kind of like I don't know what the brand of music, alternative rock or whatever. Like kind of felt more like a Blink 182, maybe a little harder than that.
I can see that.
The one you just put out.
Yeah.
It's kind of like punk
Pop
rock.
punk.
I don't know what would be the
It's hard to say. It's punk
Genre,
rock,
but
rock
it's-
and roll.
it's
I do a little bit of everything, honestly. Like I work
a lot
with
of
some
power
local hip hop
chords kind of
artists.
thing.
Yeah. He and I being Austin, I play in an outlaw country band.
Yeah, that's
We
probably the
play
most
in like
prominent
a jazz
thing right
pop
now.
kind of band. We both just love
I
music.
do a lot of stuff.
I
There's a lot
don't
of
do any
different
classical.
people.
I would love to, but I'm not good enough.
You could do.
so you put like guitar,
I can play the
piano,
cymbals.
both that kind of stuff. Or
Yeah,
like we drums,
usually
or-
he's doing drums and I'm doing guitar.
Okay.
I'd say that's the most
Yeah.
common thing we do together. But
Together.
there's been other times where it'll be completely different.
Yeah, I have records
play
where I
keyboard
play
on your
everything, and
record and stuff like that.
So what age did you guys start with music?
about 12.
7.
Yeah, and did you guys just played all the way through school, like high school, college?
Mhm.
Yeah,
was it like
just-
part of band, part of like the school band, part of just you guys jamming at
I was
home?
for a while, and then I think I got sick of it and I quit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got kicked out of my music theory class in high school.
Well, no parallel fifths, Matt.
They just said, he said, Matt, I think it'd be best if you didn't return for the next semester. And I said, why?
Ouch.
He goes, I just don't think it's working out. And I was like, okay, you
got
you
broken
can
up
spare
with.
me. Yeah.
So I ended up playing the lovely French horn back in the day. It was kind of the same thing. Like band was just boring to me because I don't think I had like now I look at it like I played about a year of guitar, just dabbled in it. It wasn't very good, but I could go through enough and get through from point A to point B a little bit. Never played the drums, but I love music. So like I just find that at a certain point you get away from like that structured music class. Like,
Yeah.
I do appreciate it though. It taught me a lot of the basic theory, the stuff that I needed to. Like I can read sheet music thanks to school band, basically. Although I did start doing that on my own, but it helped me refine that.
Yeah, and that was one where I could read the French horn. Now if I look at sheet
Scales and
music
stuff.
with piano and stuff, it's like it's tough. I haven't really cracked or even like really learned the theory of that part, but. I just find that there's a lot more originality because they're more common instruments, and like getting a French horn or trombone or something like that, or clarinet, trying to play it versus guitar or drums or bass or whatever, keyboards. Like, I
Yeah,
just
that's
find
a shame. This is kind of a tangent, but when I moved up here, I developed a class where it was one part music appreciation, one part kind of make a band. kind of focusing on kids who do, like, let's say, like elementary school kids or junior high, who maybe they do play the French horn. So the appreciation part would be cool music that uses that instrument.
Like the Pokemon theme.
And then the second part would be, forming a band for a performance with some of the other students to perform either, a cover or an original composition to kind of show those kids, like, look, you might be stuck playing school band music, but there's a whole world of expression and creativity. It's just not as prominent in popular culture. But
that could be your thing. Like bands that have the weird instrument always have like that's their edge.
Well, always
that didn't work out though. I was going to do that with the Strand, and then the leadership changed, and they said we don't want to do that.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's recent. Has that been on the podcast yet?
Oh, they had leadership changes. Many times over the years.
You just had a recent one, right?
No, this was 2011. This happened.
Oh, okay.
His experience, but it's not a new thing.
They lost their director in 2014, I think, as well. They've had nothing but interim directors or a director for about a year before they can them or they quit.
So are you guys ever involved with the Strand for music? I mean, you guys ever played there?
Yeah,
I haven't played there.
Oh, well, I thought you
did.
You
have, right?
Yes, I did. I
attended. We were on screen. I saw a debut of our music videos.
We did have something in the film festival there together. But yeah, I performed there musically.
So for you guys, like, I mean, what do you guys do besides? I mean, I know it's something that's like putting in a lot, but like Trashberg, you have obviously the audio, you have the visual, you said music videos, you have the podcast, you had the video of the podcast,
the music video was not Trashberg.
That was different.
Yeah, that's just a band.
Because then you got the comic books, and then you see, like, I was trying to follow a lot of what you guys do, and there's just a lot of different, which is cool because you guys just seem to express yourselves.
It's a little schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Just however we're feeling that day is the creative personality we'll take on.
So basically, the whole theme is creativity and just pushing stuff out for just content's sake. Like like we have.
Yes,
cool
I mean that's a very modern way to put it, I guess.
Yeah.
And
I don't necessarily disagree, but it's because
there's
what makes someone produce something.
I hate the internet,
but there's a creative portion to it. I mean, you know what I mean? Like even just sitting here talking. I mean, obviously you're talking. You talk to anybody can talk, but just put it together into some type of format that maybe. I mean, I'm not super structured. We just kind of wing it. So I mean, if there's like gaps in the podcast, it's just naturally gaps in the podcast. We just talk about the next thing, which you guys have definitely. I think you guys, I don't know how much structure you guys have. I'm sure there's a kind of an itinerary you find.
It's super structured. Yeah.
So for the most part, because you guys flow pretty well through everything, but that might just be through time. I mean, obviously
that is through time. The earlier episodes were
you guys just gel a little bit.
Sometimes they would they'd last like 3.5 hours. It's like who the hell wants to listen to that?
But then we'd reflect on it and try to do better next time.
We've definitely sharpened it over time. We used to actually keep a stopwatch going. To make sure we didn't stay on a segment for too long.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that was after the first wave of way too long. And then you would spend a lot of time editing out what we did too much of anyway.
So do you guys edit a lot of it, or is it pretty much...
That was in the beginning.
Not anymore. We used to.
Slowly tapered off.
I felt that if we had... So first we realized we were going for too long, just meandering, and it wasn't tight. It wasn't entertaining per se. Then we started using the stopwatch and kind of keeping track of the
the outlaw country there. Yeah,
keeping track of the length of the segments. And my belief was that if I didn't say anything and I just kind of kept time by myself and transitioned us, that naturally we would start to feel where those transitions go after a few months of doing it every week. Mm-hmm. And that is what happened.
Like an internal clock.
Totally. So now, I just I do moderate still and kind of close things up when I feel they need to move on, but
it's pretty natural. Sometimes stuff stretches out because we have more to say.
Because you guys are probably around, I would think about 5 minutes per topic, maybe
5 to 15.
Yeah.
Because it seems like
and then each episode's about an hour to an hour and a half at most.
Yeah, it's gotten pretty consistent.
Yeah, because I was listening to some with the like I said, you guys. Well, actually, I want to ask you this. I mean, having looked at different things, I mean, what's your viewpoint mostly on Plattsburgh? I mean, you guys pretty positive about most things. I mean, there's probably a mixture of positive, negative. Because I know some things, obviously, listening you disagree with, some things that you like. I'm not a very big political person, but like I said, people have certain viewpoints. I know there's certain things in Plattsburgh regarding, growth of downtown. Obviously, downtown's been, at least the city portion has had some rough points with financing and with the taxes. And then also, I know you guys have talked a lot about the DRI and the downtown revitalization initiative.
Yes.
I got that right? Okay. So I know you guys are way more up to speed on that, but like, what's your overall take of Plattsburgh? Because obviously you guys live here, which is a good thing. I mean, if you guys didn't, you guys would have moved out by now or found something different, or unless you're just we're stuck here kind of thing, make the best of it. But like you said, you guys have obviously. I mean, you moved here. Whether was it for college?
No, I moved here because
Well, you wanted to.
I thought it was a beautiful area. I wanted to spend the rest of my life in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so-
So despite we talked regularly recently about the name, and there's some people out there who really despise the name Trashburg. But
To be fair, I was just kind of like drinking alone by myself and thought this is funny, and I did
Yeah.
it. And then it 4 years later, here I am.
Yeah,
but despite that, I think we have a much more positive. That's a very surface level thing to like be
Yeah.
like, oh, they must hate it because it's Trashburg.
No,
But that's not the case.
It's it's like when you love somebody, maybe you bust on them a little bit.
Yeah,
It's
See,
that's breaking balls a little bit.
That's what I kind of figured. I could see myself if I was sitting around the campfire with a bunch of buddies and I'm like Trashburg, like that's actually pretty funny. And then you start coming up with the idea, and I think what's now happened to you guys as you guys have grown and you're starting to get traction and people are starting to listen. And I mean, a lot of people know who you guys are. And like I said, I'm sure you guys. I don't need to tell you guys that, but it's the idea that as it's been growing and growing and growing, people now look at it as. And I think you had said this when we were doing the SIP thing with Matt and Ryan, was that you guys want to kind of, how do you evolve this into really an authority of local news or publication? Because, again, I go back to like Barstool that's been able to take it and flip it. You guys are doing it kind of from a funny news aspect, but when I find that, editions of the Press Republican are going down, less people are watching the news, more people are consuming audio, and also you guys are doing it through social media and everything with, you guys have, I mean, obviously the Instagram and Facebook and things like that and the website, but you guys have been able to take, and the reason I like that is I've been able to do that in the real estate world is take all this kind of stuff and really mesh it and try to make real estate fun versus kind of be this stiff, like buying a house, going through financing paperwork, all this thing that kind of seems boring, and I'm trying to put the fun spin onto it.
And it humanizes it. It's like,
Well,
you're
yes.
not just like, oh, the real estate agent. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, that's a real guy.
Well, that's and now they put the face, they put the voice, they put my mannerisms, they put me stumbling, me mispronouncing stuff. Like all my flaws are out there, so it's not like I'm just putting myself up on a billboard and like, who's this squeaky clean guy? And now they hear me talk, and it's like, oh, this guy's actually, or actually, I saw him locally walking around or doing whatever. So, what is like? So I think you guys are getting a little bit of that, where now Trashburg has become, you have a more powerful brand. So I think some people are kind of maybe downplaying it in the sense of it's not painting it in the best light. But I think at the end of the day, if you strip it down to what it originally was, like I said, it was kind of a funny thing that you guys did.
Yeah.
Like you said, bust.
And I'd say listen to the
Plattsburgh's
show.
Balls, yeah.
That's all I would do is like consume the content and then make the judgment. Don't just go by the name for one thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I think one reason that first I think the name signals that we're not afraid to criticize it. We're not just going to,
because there is flaws, and I'm about as pro Plattsburgh as it gets. Like I'm very positive about the future, but there is flaw. There's always flaws. There's always something you're working on. You're never just going to say you're perfect. I mean, everybody's got stuff to work on. But
it's like what we were saying earlier. Like, it's because we care about the place that we're willing to give it a good ribbing about what is wrong with it. So that hopefully it can be better. Most of the time, the moral of the story of any time something comes up that's particular negative. A lot of the restaurants end up like this, too, when we talk about restaurants.
Yeah.
But it's like, the bottom line is we want you to be better. We want this place to be better. And we know, like, possibly ways that can happen. And we want to call out those who are making it worse actively. And it's like, no mystery. This is small enough of a place, too, that we can be transparent. We do know each other walking on the street. And we can, like, be like, look, I know this guy, and we can do better than this. And I know this person is not going about things very well or something. So if that happens on the show, we can do that.
we were kind of like that lifelong friend that tells you how it is, like tells you what you don't want to hear.
Straight
But
talk,
yeah, exactly.
Now, we really have an agenda. Like, I don't know how apparent it is for casual listeners, but the agenda really is, to me, is to just strengthen the identity of this region. I think that one thing I've heard the whole time I've lived here is, comparisons to Burlington, and one thing that Vermont as a state, but Burlington especially, has going for it is a strong identity. And that's used to market it. That's used in so many ways to improve the overall culture and economy of that
You
area.
gotta think like most of Vermont too is just rural. It's a small.
True,
it's not very
It doesn't really
populated.
Burlington doesn't quite represent the rest of the state.
But like take New York. New York is one of the three probably basically you take us in California. You can throw
Yeah.
in Florida. You can throw in Texas. You can throw in like a couple of the bigger states. But at the end of the day, like Vermont is one of the smallest states. Like people would in a national conversation usually you joke about Vermont, Rhode Island, Maine, like as these like Wyoming as these very
Yeah.
like 1-2 representative type states. Then all of a sudden you take Plattsburgh where you're trying to compare a corner of one of the biggest states that has New York City, Buffalo, Albany, Syracuse, Rochester, like big name, and then you're saying Plattsburgh. Well, it's not going to live up to, you take Woodstock, Vermont, or you take White River Junction,
Right.
And now Burlington is their main hub, and then we're looking at it like, well, we got New York City, you know what I mean? Like, but then you're trying to identify with the big. So I always find that we're unfortunately up against the biggest that we can go up against in our neighboring state.
Totally.
Which really puts us, I think, at a disadvantage, but I think we have a lot of positives that are going to slowly
Just even in terms of like access to resources and it just we've got it pretty damn good up here. I think that people joke about Plattsburgh being this vacuum that sucks people back in, like they try to leave, but you know why you come back? Because you go to some big city and to use some presidential nomenclature, it's a shithole.
Yeah.
This is a good place to live. This is a very
now that I've left, I find that other places suck too.
Yes, but there's a lot of good here, and it's small enough that we can have a tight grip on our identity and really create a culture that is ours and ours alone, where we don't have to import everything. We don't have to, it doesn't have to be all big box stores. It doesn't have to be all like, this corporate stuff that we don't really identify with as North Country people. Like we can do for ourselves a lot of, even just access to local food is incredible up here. You can't eat this well in a lot of other cities.
So one of the things that we've kind of branded as our slogan at the company is local matters. What's funny about like what you guys do is the fact you guys you both work at the co-op, right? Or you do?
I do.
I'm a member owner.
Which I didn't know about this. Like I went to the co-op like a week ago. I drive by it every single day. I used to go a lot, but it's the idea that like the little local spots. We're a local independent company. You guys obviously, whether it be Trashburg, whether it be the co-op. What do you guys do like your day jobs?
I do a lot of music teaching.
Okay.
That's kind of my bread and butter. Is I teach private lessons for typically guitar and some other stuff too. Like I played violin professionally, so I teach that a little bit. I'm phasing that out just because I don't play it as much anymore, and guitar is a lot more prominent. I also run open mic nowadays, so I get paid to do that.
Okay, cool. And
I do inventory management for the food co-op.
okay, so but you guys are, like I said, are very local. I mean, aspects of
yeah.
small businesses, and what I think is kind of cool is that we're taking like a local matters theme of, you talk about restaurants, you talk about, I look at all the podcasts that have popped up recently. I know it's like I've always wanted. I've been wanting to do one for a couple of years. Matt Craig, Ryan Gwinnett. I know Matt Waite's got one. Ryan Lee's got one. You guys have one, and there's more. I'm sure. I mean, how many podcasts do you think there are total?
Yeah, I'll say 12.
12?
Conservatively.
A real dozen.
Dozen? Okay, so
I'd say, I have shows that have a regular
fair, I think.
output. Yeah, about
fair.
a dozen.
okay, so you take a dozen, but I think that's even kind of cool from a local standpoint. You talk about the music. You talk about, Battle of Plattsburgh's happening this weekend, which is obviously a local event, very, 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 right in the heart of the whole area. So, what do you guys think from that standpoint? Because, I ask certain guests depending on who they are, but, like, you guys, obviously, like I said, you live here, you want the area to be better. So, like, what's local matters mean to you guys? Is that something you guys really focus on a lot? Is that something that just is... Because I think you guys implement it in your own way. Like I said, it is a creative way of doing it. There's an art form to it. Even though some people might look at it and say, well, why are they talking about someone taking a shit outside of Our House Bistro? But at the end of the day, you're putting the spin on...
It's like someone taking a shit on my front lawn. I'm going to talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
But it's a funny thing. Like, you can take everything you guys talk about, like... There's just so much going on, and you guys use the city well. You guys use all these different things. So, I find that you guys are very much in the heart of Plattsburgh, doing, at least giving a voice to, like, we're in a certain way that people never had it before. Because, like you said, if you take the news coming out of the Press Republican that's been around forever, you take the news coming out of WPTZ, and then you guys have basically self-funded, or I know you guys get donations and stuff, but you're doing it from a house. You're doing.
I would say it's it is. Well, we actually do have a studio space downtown. We moved out of the apartment, thank God. It is not so much self-funded as it is community funded.
Yeah.
So because I know you guys. So I mean, talk about that, like, because you guys do have, like I said, there is support. I mean, you guys have a fairly good listener base.
What do you have to say? Because I have a very long-winded
I mean,
thing.
that kind of wound around. I guess what does local matters mean to me? I guess it is just kind of empowering people to produce. Like, we see a lot of potential. I think we both see a lot of potential in the place and the people and the infrastructure and everything. And so it's really just maximizing that potential of the people around us, and maybe setting an example for that too. Because like Matt said, like, it doesn't have to be all big box. We don't have to have fucking Chick-fil-A come in or something. Like, that doesn't have to be our culture.
Have you been to Chick-fil-A?
The sandwiches I haven't.
I would never
have
go
not.
there.
I don't like it. No, I've been twice, and both times I've been disappointed.
But that doesn't have to be our culture. We talk a lot about, when it comes to the DRI, there's a lot of open, empty storefronts. There's a lot of failed businesses in town. And those people, maybe it was beyond their control, but maybe it was just the wrong people opening businesses and operating them poorly. But we believe, like, it seems so obvious to me that we could make that thrive again.
It's very much within our reach. I mean, to me, I really almost militantly, at a time in my life when I was a younger, angrier man, I think the internet is something that, I believe in divide and conquer. That's a real thing. If you want to break up things, if you want to centralize power, you need to kind of break up the power that you're trying to take over,
So pit it against itself.
Yeah, so if you can kind of take, like, the American, public and pit them against themselves and kind of divide them and conquer them, like, it's much easier to centralize power, which is what corporate America does. It's that is how our government is run. Like, the marriage between the corporate state and the government, it's so, we're so deep into that right now. And I think Plattsburgh is a place where you can have a respite from that. And so to me, like, the local matters thing really motivates everything I do. So I think the internet is bad for us. I think that it kind of gives us a homogenized monoculture. And so...
Was it always like that?
It wasn't always like that.
I read a really, really, really good article a couple of years ago called The Next Internet is TV.
Yes, I that's true. But
because now we just have a couple channels. You flip through the channels. You flip through Twitter. You flip through YouTube. You flip through whatever.
The internet used to be a wild west, and it's
Apple curates your news to your iPhone automatically
through legislation. Mostly, it's. I mean, they've legislation. They had to really put a stranglehold on the openness of the internet.
Yeah.
And we worry about fast lanes or slow lanes for different servers and kind of filtering content through that. You hear about things about PIPA and whatever. But moving beyond that, I think that if people are on the internet either way, no matter how I feel about it personally, if I want to talk to the people, if I want to get a message to the people, that's where they are. So if I'm going to make content, I'm going to make content that is locally focused because I want people to have a stronger local identity and not necessarily have to eat the crap that the overlords are trying to give them. I know this sounds very paranoid in a way, but I'm using big sweeping generalizations to describe the situation. One, because it's funny, but two, because it really is what's happening. Corporate America does not want Plattsburgh to have a strong, small, independent, small business economy. You know how hard it is to run a small business, in New York State, especially?
Yeah.
That's not but we can do that for ourselves here. Like, we have a pretty fertile ground for having a strong economy, identity, culture, all those things. And, I'm not trying to make it, I know saying having an identity is like a touchy subject right now politically. I'm not trying to put any sort of like a alt-right spin on that. I'm just saying, like, we can have a strong local culture where we have our own arts, have our own food, have our own music, have our own entertainment. That's
right.
What I mean.
It's almost like you're
rely on our own businesses, make our own money.
It's like you're provoking people to identify as someone from Plattsburgh rather than like someone from a global scale, which is kind of the trend. Everything
the global
is globalizing,
community doesn't exist really. I mean, we rely on the globalization is
because of the mass scale of media, but
really,
everything.
like, we're not we're not what's happening in California in Plattsburgh. You know, we are what's happening here, and I think that we can have more control over that. And so
we don't have to ignore what's happening right around us in order to consume. You know,
so the local matters for
something
me
like
is
that.
like everything I do is to the rubric of, does this further the agenda of helping to create a strong local identity, whether that's through entertainment, arts, culture, comedy, food, whatever that is. I want people to be proud of where they are, you know, where they're from, what they're doing, their time here, even if they're only transient people. Like, you know, it's hard for college kids to sometimes respect the city. And that's been a problem. I've held community forums on that where we've had college kids harassing and disrespecting the community in some very extreme ways over the years. And I think it's hard for a college kid to move into this town where everyone's kind of down on it. Everyone sees it as like this like gross kid brother to Burlington. It's like, you know, they talk bad about it. And so if you're like some college kid, especially if you're like, you know, coming from a bigger area, you're going to be like, oh, I'm stuck in this like shitty little like backwoods college town, and you're not going to respect the culture here. You know, it's like, it's a huge issue, just not being proud of what we have here. So, you know, not to get too deep, but that's kind of why I do what I do, and I try to do it in a way that puts a little sugar in the medicine, because I think if I look at any strong activist from throughout history, it's not the people who are talking politics 100% of the time. You know, they're the people who kind of lead by example, and before you know it, you're going along with their cause, and you didn't even realize why. But, you know, it's I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, that's local matters, man.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Well,
I always love too. Just a little tag on the end of that. I just love getting people who do come up and they're like, "Yo, I just saw that. Like, I just listened to the Trash Cast or I watched the Trash Cast. Like, that's so funny." Like, and it really engages people. And I like that they can walk up to me and be like, "Yo, that was really cool. Like, thank you for doing that."
And long term is, you know, we'll be doing another voter's guide when it's time to vote. And I've already, you know, once I ran for public office, I was not ready. I learned a lot, and I do intend to run again.
Yeah. Finally clamp down with an iron fist on this place and remove your enemies.
Then a firestorm.
Disappear them.
Block by block.
Photoshop certain opponents out of this. No more history.
So have you guys, like I said, you ran once for public office. Have you guys done anything political? I mean, obviously you guys, like I said, have, you know, you're caught up, I would say, enough on the issues, much more than the average person is. Would you agree on that?
I'd say.
I would say. I mean, you're pretty educated on stuff. I'll be honest,
but I don't think the bar is very high.
I'm very uneducated
I would
when it
say
comes to local politics.
That's a good way to put it. We are, but the bar is very low.
Yeah.
It's either do you know nothing, or you know like something you read one time.
Like headlines.
Yeah.
And then obviously the ones that go deep into it.
Yeah, but I mean, most people are either nothing or
we can kind of
headlines.
connect the dots by having different things, different people, different, you know, we have 5 or 6 articles. We can, over time, start to connect like a network of the story, you know, to create continuity there for someone.
Yeah. Okay. So the other thing I had for you guys, when you guys did the live stream, was it live event at City Well? How many people were there in the audience?
Ooh, not quite 20. I think it was like 17 or 18.
Around that.
That's a pretty good number, though.
Yeah, and the thing that was really cool is that by the end of the night, it just turned into a town hall forum.
Yeah,
people were just having a discussion amongst them, as a group, you know,
really
like
cool.
a moderated discussion.
Because I started watching it. I didn't get through the whole thing. I watched probably the first 15 minutes of it, but I mean, again, I was kind of doing stuff, so I was listening more than watching it. But it was more the table you guys were focusing on, right? So I couldn't know how many people were actually there. But
right, and that's something that when we do the next one, we'll be working to
different angles or something.
Because we didn't know that people were going to
I did
get
not
so
expect
active.
that many people to come or act that way.
Yeah, we're going in totally blind.
I was expecting maybe 5, 6 of like kind of buddies. I was thinking like first time doing anything.
That's what I thought.
We have a couple events coming up, and I'm like, we might have like one person show up. We could have 20. I don't know, but it sounds like like 17 people to me seems like quite a bit. And then obviously as you do more, was it pretty well attended? I mean, not attended, but well received.
Big time, yeah. Again, it was really, I'd say, an overwhelming success to the point where when we talked about doing it again, we kind of had to like take stock of like, oh, we can't just like bullshit on this. Like, kind of with the podcast too. The podcast was just, we would do just a straight up satire of the local news, and the podcast developed to be sort of a long form satire of local news until we started to realize that people were saying, hey, this is my only form of local news. And it's like, okay, time to take this more seriously, where again, that was the hope, that it could maybe educate people to a degree, but as it becomes more and more real, you kind of refocus and go, wow, okay, I can't mess around. I got to like make sure I'm doing this right, because it is kind of like, public duty. It's a civic engagement.
Now, for a lot of the stories that you get, I mean, do you guys research the stories pretty well? I mean, is it something that you might read, or is it straight off like, hey, what we're reading basically in this article and taking our viewpoint based off of this viewpoint?
Pretty much. I mean, sometimes you might do some, but for the most part, it's like we just bring in our own experience.
To me, I think what's powerful about the show is that I talked to a lot of people who go, wow, sometimes I think the show is too smart for me. And it's like...
that's a compliment.
Yes, but I don't like that.
Yeah,
because I think that reading the newspaper should not be too smart for the average citizen. That's not okay. I have a lot of thoughts about public schools and like how... how the national intelligence has dropped over the centuries. It's like pretty insane. Stuff that is college reading now was grade school reading, way back in the day. But all that aside, we got what we got. So I don't know. Like, I think what's powerful about the show is it's not well researched. It's the average citizen giving their raw impression to the news. And I think that kind of normalizes the idea that you can read the news. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be researching all these topics. You are still entitled to an opinion and a reaction to what's happening to you. And I think that sometimes people go, well, I'm not super political, so I'm not going to get involved in that. I don't know. It's like those things still affect you.
They think they have to know the story to jump
right
in.
There. You have to be some expert to have to have a reaction or have an opinion about a thing. And it's like, that's not realistic. And whether you want to have an opinion or not, these issues are still going to affect you and dictate the way life around you is going to work. So you got to start somewhere. And if all you got is just like a raw, uninformed opinion, start there and just work up.
We try to keep it accessible in that way.
Yeah.
And I used to do that more, but I think I dropped off. Try to do that some more. Because there's times where it's like something will come up and I might have an idea of the answer. I might know something about it, but I'll play a little bit more like ignorant, basically, and just be like, well, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean for the average person? Like hey, I'm a lay person.
It's
what does
for
that mean?
The listener. It's not for us,
Because half the time I'm not lying. I'm just like, I don't even know what this is relevant toward. Like, let's make it explicit.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that would make that easier to get into for people.
I want the news to be funny, cool, and accessible.
Yeah. I would never expect someone to tell us that our show is too smart for them.
But I think
that's really
it's kind of
funny.
like easily digestible, though. Like I said, you guys put it out, and there's stuff. I mean, as funny as it can. Like I said, you guys do put the spin on it. There's some stuff I listen to. I'm like, that makes sense, or that's a good point, or that's a good viewpoint that maybe was different than the story or the average person. But I think you guys are very in tune with. You guys are all in tune with what you believe, but for most part, do you guys think that you are all very similar in thoughts or very different? Like if you bring 4 people on the show,
we're pretty different.
Yeah.
I mean, do you guys think that you disagree? I say disagree. I mean, not really debating stuff. I mean, you debate stuff here and there. There's debates on the thing, but it's not.
I've tried to tailor the show to run the gamut from sort of pretty extremely left-leaning to further right-leaning, to not so right that it's getting into any sort of nationalism, but more conservative-leaning, I guess I should say, rather than right-leaning, to just straight up apolitical, like someone who's just not informed at all and doesn't know where they stand. I've tried to make sure the show maintains that spectrum.
Yeah, I think we kind of jump around intentionally, almost like to disorient people a little bit, so that you might not even know what we believe, or that it challenges you to think, well, what do you believe?
I've had someone recently say, wow, listening to the Trash Cast makes me realize how far left and how far right I am at the same time. And I think that most people live in a gray area, and the idea of these binaries of red state, blue state are just made up. It's just made up to, again, divide and conquer, and that's not real.
And so whether it's one side or the other, I think we do need to like kind of smuggle in one logic to one of those sides so people can see it from a voice that they trust, perhaps, and think in a new way.
Yeah.
No, but if you think about take national politics, take a presidential race.
Sure.
That is very binary. That's you're red, blue. You're a Democrat, you're Republican. But the thing is, when you're talking about upstate New York, then you talk about maybe the elderly in Florida. Then you talk about the people down in maybe Southern California that are dealing with things down in LA, or you're talking about Middle America. Or you're talking about, in order to group all those people together, we do not experience the same things as probably 80% of the country. Things that are happening in, Detroit, Michigan aren't happening here that are different than maybe something that's happening in Louisiana, that's happening in Utah.
Totally, yeah.
So the fact that you're having one person run in a position that, for all intents and purposes, is the head person of your country or figurehead, or is there one person is a full branch of our, the tri branches. But then if you bring that down and then you start getting more localized, I find that there's much more gray area. There's much more that red and blue now become more of a middle ground where
right. The associations matter much less on this scale.
Yeah, like if I was to take myself politically, I don't deal a lot with politics, but there's things I lean more right on, there's things I lean more left on. But I could not go. I've never had a presidential candidate or even someone in the state that you could go down and be like, checks every box. I could
Totally, yeah.
I could get pretty damn close locally. I think there's some local people that come on and I'm like, you know what? My viewpoints are very similar to them. I might be off on, if you give us 10 major things, we might be off on 1 or 2, but we align pretty well. And I bet you most people that run, I could probably agree with 80% of what they're agreeing on. And then I think it comes down to the person and their attitude and maybe their, effort level a little bit, because I think there's some people you get in there that are kind of lazy and they're in there. I'm like, why? You're not really doing much. You're talking more than you're doing with action.
Yeah.
So what do you guys? Because I know you guys do touch a lot on politics. Obviously, there's you guys have viewpoints, but the one thing for you guys you just talked about, there's only really one person on your show that I can actually point to, and I'm like, I know exactly which kind of on the spectrum they are. I find that both of you guys are very moderate. I think sometimes you lean more one way than sometimes the other way, depending on the subject. And there's some stuff like I agree on. There's some stuff that I'm like, don't agree with them, but it's, but I still take it in stride and say, you know what, it's still funny. They have an opinion. I'm totally good with anybody having an opinion or having a discussion or trying to come with, get a viewpoint out, not necessarily to force you to switch sides, but I think it's just more to maybe sympathize with the other side a little bit. So when you guys talk about, the political scene, what's your thought on that when you talk about the binary, the red versus blue versus now more localized? Do you guys align with that? Do you think that's true? Or do you think that there is a very big gap between one side and the other?
I don't believe those
Yeah,
binaries
I don't think
actually
about it
exist.
much.
I don't.
really.
Yeah, I think the less we pay attention to that, even as a thing, the better. I think that it exists. It's like how do I put this? It's like this collective thing that we're all holding up. But if we just all let go of it, it'll just disappear.
It'll just
Like that's an
float
idea
away.
that only exists because of our collective mind saying it exists. The
Pretty
binaries
much.
don't
And
exist.
It's almost like what you're saying with the local stuff. It's like, it's funny how exactly, and you could call it whatever you want, but you know exactly where you fall on issues when it's right in your own backyard.
Yes,
when
100%.
you're going to see the effects tomorrow, you know what you want, and you know what you want to happen and what you're going to do. And I think that's pretty much, it's not the only thing that matters, but it's probably the most important thing by far, whether comparing that to some kind of general election for a figurehead.
Let me put it this way real quick. The thing that I think that is very important, is often misunderstood by the general public, is that most federal legislation and most like very wide-reaching legislation, it doesn't start from the top down. It's from the bottom up. So what happens a lot of time is somebody has an agenda. They will find a place where the voting bloc or the politicians in power in that area will go along with this agenda. They will institute it. They will have other senators in other places try to pass similar copycat laws to the point where it becomes an issue that they want to take to a federal level. That's how you change the culture, is by looking at the United States and looking at politics as a bunch of little building blocks and starting at the lowest levels and moving up to the federal level. And I don't think enough people really think about how much power there is in having strong local government, local like participation in government. And if you have a change you want to see on a national level, affect that change in your community first.
It's almost
and
like
you will
a legal precedent in a court. It's like you have a
That's exactly what it is.
You have a precedent.
That's how it works. You can look up. There's something called ALEC, AELC. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but it's something that we've had local forums on here. We've had, I think Bill Owens was at the press conference they had about it a couple years ago. It's a real thing. That's really how things happen. And I think that sometimes because of these giant, big red-blue binaries and these like red state, blue state, you forget that it's really on you as an individual to vote for what you want to see happen where you are, because that's how those changes happen, is from a local level upward. It's not really almost ever from the federal level downward.
Yeah.
With very rare exceptions, like the Patriot Act or something, a declaration of war. There are times where it is federal and that's that, but that's, I don't know. That's what I got to say about that. Yeah. It's important to get involved. So, make the changes you want to see in your own community. And you know what? Plattsburgh is a place where it's really damn easy to do that.
Yeah, well, I think the one thing with being a local community, I mean, you can talk to, I'm sure each of you know someone that's in a position of either town council or the city council or the county legislator. I mean, it just like even I've had Mike Cashman on this. I've had Billy Jones on this. I've had, we've had people that are, on, and they're easily accessible, which is different from, again, I'm not ever probably going to meet a president in person. If I do, it's going to be nothing more than a handshake.
Totally, yeah.
Probably the same thing with anybody that's in our state. Like if I ever met a state governor, the state governor's going to be at a meet and greet, and I might just like randomly run by and make small talk. But I can have, Billy Jones come here, Mike Cashman come here, whether it be someone on the county legislator come here, talk to me for an hour and a half to 2 hours about whatever. But you can have, and one of the things Mike said, he's going to go grocery shopping and run into a bunch of people, and he loves talking to people. And I think it's the idea
that's great.
But it's the idea that you can go out, fully get that first person example instead of the, hey, we're going to see what's on the national news, which to be honest, I don't watch any national news because nothing, when you talk about like affecting the local community, like if something's happening, like you guys said, on Margaret Street, I'm going to be affected by that because even if it's filling in a pothole on Margaret Street, that's going to have more effect on my life than whatever's going down, honestly, it's south of the border. I know in a grand scheme of things, you got to keep certain things, whether it be border or drugs or, like I said, war or something like that. Like it does have an effect on you, but not as much as some little thing would affect me, because something little, even though it's something little closer to me, is going to have way more impact than something big thousands of miles away.
I think you're on the right track there.
So I think, I don't know, and then back to you guys, I just think you guys have a pretty good handle on that, and I like the aspect of you guys, even though it might be kind of tongue-in-cheek at times, you're trying to move the area forward for the better.
Totally, and it's only tongue-in-cheek because I think that makes it easier for a lot of the people who are kind of disengaged right now to become engaged. Because I think that sometimes people think that politics and news and all that stuff is too boring, too formal, and it's not the way that they talk, and it's not the way that they think, and so they think that it's just not for them.
I think we're just goofy.
But
it's like we imagine us trying to do it serious. It'd be totally different. Like it's not our natural mode.
But
anyway.
It's not like the intentions aren't serious. It's more
it's like
hey,
it is how we talk.
Yeah, but if you got to be a clown, you got to be a clown.
But you guys do it authentically, though. Like,
right,
we are
interested. It's not like you're putting.
It's not like you just jump on and put on a show, because like you guys are talking right now, like you do on like when I listen to Trashcast, you guys sound the same. Like,
well, I mean, we are performers.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
we are performers.
Maybe a little bit, but I think you guys really, you guys are good at that, and I think you guys say what people think, kind of deal at times.
Yeah, sure.
There's some stuff that
I think we're both dysfunctional enough that we're not afraid to blurt out something.
I would say you guys are
whoa, no.
Like I don't know how many listeners or downloads you get, but you're fine enough projecting it onto a microphone that you know more than just the people in the room are going to hear.
Well, that's another thing I try not to think about too much.
Yeah, well, you can't because that's gonna really, like, that's the one thing I've gotten as I've done the podcast. My thought process is usually just, I sometimes forget I'm on the mic, besides the fact that I'm moving to make sure I can still hear it in my damn ear. But other than that, it's all going good. So also for you guys, So we have, like I said, we talked about the band. How long have you guys been doing that, and do you have anything going forward, or is that just something you guys do for fun, the two of you? I mean, is that stuff you ever try to grow? Is it just more of a hobby? Is that
we've got plans for growth,
world domination
for sure.
plans
Definitely.
usually.
which I figured, but
Like,
like
pretty
arenas
much
and
anything.
arenas, yeah.
Yeah, because we got the original band, the Mountain Carol.
Yeah,
that's
the Mountain Carol.
us three
We're
guys
in the middle of recording an album locally at Wayward Sound Studio.
Where's that?
It is. It's just behind Campus Corner,
Pine Street, I
Pine
think.
Street, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's
kinda
full
hidden.
service.
Okay.
It is kind of a hidden gem, I'd say even. But it's a full service recording studio. It's the most professional studio. Well, second most professional studio. I gotta say, I was in a couple nice studios back in Syracuse, but I mean, it's the nicest studio we have in the region.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say, especially this side of the lake.
So a lot of local people do record there?
No, not
Not a
enough.
lot.
Oh, really?
I would say
Not
no.
yet.
I don't,
Really?
there's,
I've never even heard of it,
There's
so
not
that's-
a bunch of local artists who are recording original music. You know,
More just covers and stuff?
But there could be.
they're not even recording. I think this is something where there's a lot of untapped
Yeah,
potential.
but this is another kind of local matters thing. I know plenty of people who write original songs. Some of them are as young as like 10 years old, and I meet them through teaching them, and they're good songs. And I know, adults, and
So
I
why
know
wouldn't they
older
record?
people.
Is it just more just
Because
they're holding
maybe-
themselves back?
Yeah, I would say
Insecurity a
in
little
so
bit?
many words. In so many words.
I mean, but we did an album that 7 Days, which is the alternative paper out of Burlington.
Yep.
They named it their local album of
yeah,
the year.
we got the number one
Which one?
album.
Yours?
An album that we recorded right at Wayward Sound Studio in Plattsburgh. So it's a competitive studio. It's a very good studio.
and it obviously has access for anybody to go record. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
want to
Yeah,
book
yeah.
time or
It's a business.
yeah.
It's open for business.
So who? I mean, I've never even, like I said, this is
It's run by James Ward, who used to own the Chicago Taco.
Okay.
He sold it a number of years ago. He also owns Grow Buddies, the hydroponics store. But it's only been open for about 2 years. We were one of the first records. I think the second album they ever record there.
Yeah.
But we're in the middle of a new album right now with the Mountain Carol that we're getting ready to release probably early next year.
Probably.
so how many
kinda
albums
open
have
here.
you guys done?
We just did the one album. We have like a EP, like a single that we did,
So, yeah, we did that independently.
and then
What's
just the one-
EP stand for?
extended play single.
They did okay because
Yeah,
LP
that's
is long.
totally-
LP is long
that's
play.
like
It's a long
saying-
playing record, so it's kind of like,
It's like,
you know,
I put on my floppy disk. Like,
Yeah.
that's total holdover from like decades
it
ago.
basically
Which one-
just means like it's a really short album.
Which one? EP.
EP.
Yeah, it has 3 songs on it.
Okay, so it's just kind of a quick, like a few,
Yeah, it's like a 15 minute.
Longer
snippet
than,
of-
longer than a single, shorter than an album.
So it goes
pretty
single,
much.
EP, LP.
Yes,
Is there anything after an LP?
double LP,
Yeah, double LP.
Oh, is there really?
triple LP,
And LP, you know what LP means?
Long play.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Long
only thing
playing
is
record.
extended play and long play. Okay, makes
Yeah,
sense.
and that's just that is held over from actual vinyl records.
Yeah.
It's just a lingo they came up with at the
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Okay. So no, that's but I never heard of them, and I think so. The one thing that I find that there's a lot of references that you guys make, even though it's local, that there's some stuff I've never even heard of, but I find it fascinating because I think you guys know about a lot about the area that I think some people don't, whether that be just through stumbling upon it or just connections with people or whatever. But I think
I'm a
there's-
little obsessed.
I mean, do you like actively go out and find like little weird,
Yes.
like things about Plattsburgh that people don't know about?
Yeah.
I mean, I collect books about Plattsburgh. I have my own little Plattsburgh archive in my
Especially,
my
yeah,
home.
especially local music and tapes
Especially
and stuff.
local
That's another
music.
thing.
yeah.
Almost like a music history.
So like what? Yeah, like what's the music? Because this is new to me. So I always tell people the theme of this show is just people I like to talk to or think are interesting. So I do kind of find you guys from a creative standpoint, but obviously like that's pretty cool too. So like what?
There's a long tradition of of I'd say folk and country type music in the area that goes back. I mean, I think the oldest thing in my collection is an LP, like an actual LP record, like a 12-inch record from Donna Hoerg that
you
she
told me
recorded
about
in the
that.
late 60s. And she's she still plays. She's her health is she's not in great health right now. And the House Compromiser playing, but you might have seen her at the Palmer Street Coffee House at the the Unitarian Universalist Church on Palmer Street. They'll do the coffee house events like every month or so, and they'll have live folk music. So I have a record that she put out in the '60s that's really good, and I have some tapes that local guys did, like Stan Ransom or Whitey Keys or Don Perkins. They put out in the '90s. I'm missing a big gap of 80s music. That I have some stuff that was recorded in the, I want to say, late 50s, early 60s on Clinton Street. There was a huge fire on Clinton Street at some point, I think in the 60s. But there was a really active recording studio on Clinton Street. And you can find on YouTube some records that people have like put up the music from that were recorded right in Plattsburgh on Clinton Street. Yeah, we got a pretty rich musical history. And then, basically anything from like the late 90s till today, I've got a copy of almost everything. I got a lot of stuff from when the Quake, the WQKE at SUNY Plattsburgh, their college station, they were getting rid of their CD collection, and I plundered the entire local section just to kind of document and archive like, what our area has to offer. Because again, I really believe in having a strong local culture.
Yeah, I think it's there.
So who are more of like the bigger name bands, acts, singers over the last like 20 years? I mean, since we've been alive.
I mean, one of the biggest exports we've had was Lucid.
Yeah.
They do more kind of jam, kind of. They remind me of like Rusted Root or something, or I don't know how to put it. I mean, they're pretty diverse though, because they have several singer-songwriters in the band writing songs. Yeah,
they were just doing a music video.
Criminally under-listened to them.
I'm pretty sure that all of them have. I maybe not all 5 members, but I believe at least 3 members have been writing songs for the band.
That makes
Although
sense.
Kevin Sabrin,
thinking about them, that makes sense.
is the key songwriter. Hello Control, which we talked about earlier, is like a pop punk band from the area that did really well.
You said they're getting back together, kind of.
Is it the
same lineup, the original guys?
Yeah, they did a single a number of months ago, and they're getting ready to do something new very soon that I don't know the details of. But Ryan Hayden and I, he's the bassist, I believe.
Is he? Yeah, I think so.
So
I don't know.
There's 4 guys, right?
Yeah, there's Mikey Lemieux, Ryan Hayden, I don't know, Milo,
yeah,
and
Andrew
Schwartz.
Was Mike in that?
Oh, Mike. I just said Mikey.
Oh, okay.
And Andrew. Andrew's not with the band anymore. Andrew lives too far away.
So the rest of them they're still. I mean, obviously, I know Mikey.
Yeah.
Mikey's the only one I know of that. I know of Milo. The other guy, Ryan, I don't. You said Ryan? Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't know him, but
Ryan Hayden, he was on the last episode of the Trash Cast. He's a friend of the show, and he does audio production and engineering.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the 2 big ones. I mean, they're the original music, right?
Yeah, and then Andrew Stortz is a really top shelf tattoo artist.
Yeah, he's a great tattoo.
Yeah, and he actually has a really successful podcast called Books Closed, I think.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Books Closed. It doesn't sound normal when I say out loud.
Books Closed. He's a local guy too.
No, he was.
He was in the band.
I think he moved to.
Gotcha.
I want to say New Hampshire, even, but
I don't know.
He's a very successcul podcaster and tattoo artist. And the podcast is about tattooing. It's about tattoo culture because like with Kat Von D had like a TV show, I think, on like the Discovery Channel or whatever. The real. What's that crap called? Reality television. Whatever channel
that
did
genre,
all the reality television. Yeah. Tattoo culture got kind of poisoned, and so he was like, "Hey, let's do a show about like real tattoo culture," and it
the actual art of it.
Yeah, and it really took off. It's a really cool show. Anyway,
do we count on the list because we got number 1 spot? Do we need more time to be part of the biggest?
I would say the greatest export in recent years is of course the Mountain Carol, which is our award-winning band.
Because like who else could? I mean, if we're gonna put a number 3 up,
of current
Lucid, Hello Control, and then in the last 20 years,
I'd say Adrian
Shameless Strangers.
Shameless Strangers. Adrian Aardvark is one of the most prolific artists / bands in the region. And and then also like Mythology is a local black metal band that is like nationally well respected for being a really good black metal band.
Like for that subculture.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know that.
People dig that band.
Cool. That's awesome.
Some other good local metal bands like Theta. We really run the gamut of genres, but it kind of goes from like folk to black metal.
Yeah.
Also a lot of great hip hop from the region, surprisingly.
So you rap? Is that true?
Yes. Yes.
Expand on that or no? Is that that's the short
yeah.
of the
So I mean, I grew up in kind of like an all black culture and grew up listening to hip hop music.
Where'd you go to
almost-
high school?
In Syracuse, New York.
No, but where?
Well, I went to high school at the extremely white Faith Heritage School.
Yeah. I know
so-
I've heard of them.
Yeah, so I was I was in public school up until 7th grade, and then it was very weird for me in high school because I went to high school with a bunch of people that I never talked to outside of school. I'd like leave school and then go live my other life.
Was Faith Heritage a private school?
Yeah.
We actually our high school played them in soccer in like the late 90s.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a very very successsual soccer team there. I remember in Spanish class I got yelled at by the teacher for not knowing who Pele was.
Painter.
Of course, now I know he's a very famous soccer player. No, but I've always loved hip hop. I grew up listening to hip hop, and it was almost kind of weird for me when I started listening to like white music, like guitar based white fronted rock. Like I kind of felt like weird telling my friends I was like, "Hey, I'm kind of into this." But either way, I eventually I was like, "Man, I love hip hop. I've always loved hip hop. I gotta learn more." So and maybe like 2012 2013 I started making beats and rapping and stuff, and I joined up with a local MC named Ben Ryman, who used to do events all over downtown. He would do rap battles and open mics and stuff, and he produced a lot of artists. He worked a lot with A-Dog, who is a very prolific hip-hop artist from Burlington. Like there's an A-Dog Day, like in memoriam. He's since passed, but he's a very well-respected artist over there. And so Ben and I developed a hip-hop collective called the Plattsburgh Home Team that had maybe, I'd say at the most, like 15 or 16 MCs from the region, either people who are living here currently or are from here. And we put out 2 albums and did so many live shows. We do a mix of, sometimes there's a DJ and the MC, sometimes there's a live band with the MCs. Sometimes I get up and rap. I love hip hop. Can't put it
So
any
you're
other
still
way.
pretty active in that.
Unfortunately, so the home team has
I
dissolved.
joined the band and it jumped the shark. So
Yeah. The hardest.
You need to bring the beats.
So it's like, imagine having like a band with like 4 guys, 4 people. They don't have to be male gendered, but I'm saying like get 4 people in a band. That's even scheduling a thing with like 2 people is hard enough.
Yep.
Imagine scheduling a 5-piece band with like 5 vocalists.
Yeah. Like-
it was not sustainable. The fact that we ever played a show was
It's amazing
incredible.
to me, just 'cause-
And we kept it going for several years, which I can't even believe. We did we worked with the city. We did Fox Hill. We did like a sledding and music day over there, working with Sandra Geddes was the community organizer.
Yep.
We also played at the 4th of July celebration in maybe 2016, right in Trinity Park with the city. So, and we did a lot, but it was not sustainable. So all the members are still doing things, but as a unit, we've kind of disbanded. But I'm still active. Myself and a local MC named Dust. We've been putting out records together. We're working on one right now that no one's heard yet that I'm really proud of. It'll be coming out later
and I'm
this year.
playing on it sometimes too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's very incestuous with all the, how it's like Trashburg, the home team, the Mountain Carol, it's all, but, it is different brands. They're different attitudes, different perspectives.
different little universes almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's like a crossover whenever anything happens.
I was gonna say, I just noticed there's a lot going on. Like there's structure, but it's not structure. It's like kind of like controlled chaos. Everything's just kind of all over the place. But
the structure exists in our heads, but to communicate to another person is impossible.
Yeah, it's just because we're the same guys. I mean, it's like
but it's different. Yeah, it's different projects. It's different
projects, different boundaries.
Well, even different
universe. I like to think of it as different universes. And
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
would
people
say
think
that.
about comics nowadays. That's probably a good way to do it. It's like,
yeah.
there's even different Spider-Man universes now. It's almost like that. It's
Weird.
like there's different realities or different little
Were you
boundaries
Were
we
you
have.
Spider-Man guys? Comic. I mean, you did comics
really.
and stuff. Like Spider-Man was my favorite,
I
but
think I read Ultimate Spider-Man once, and
I
that's
love
it.
Spider-Man, yeah.
is there who's the like ghost white girl Spider Girl? Is that a thing or no?
It's not
That's
Black
not drawing
Widow or
a...
something.
I
okay.
was thinking maybe Black Widow, but yeah, I don't know.
So this is the thing. My kid is 21 months old. He's young, year and a half. we like Spidey. That's his thing. So we
Yeah.
watch Spider-Man, which warms my heart because that's my favorite character growing up. So there's Black Spidey, who is like, I don't even know, it's black. I don't know, he wears black instead of red. And then there's like this girl that looks like a ghost, but she's like Spider-Woman something.
Could be Black Widow. Or no, Black
I
Widow.
don't know.
No,
But
it's
She's
not Black
white.
Widow.
She's got like a white face, and she's like a girl. And they end up watching. So I wasn't sure because I've been out of comics for a long, long time.
Oh,
but
God.
I didn't know because
I
you
can
talk about the
visualize
universe.
the
Like, what do you mean by
character.
Didn't
Spider?
Gwen do something?
Yeah,
at some
Gwen
point?
Stacy was a Spider-Woman at some point.
What are you
don't
talking
know.
about? Spider-Man universe.
There,
Yeah,
the
so they have
Spider-Man
different-
universe
I mean-
is so complicated.
Yeah, they have different. I mean, like, then they'll do it. Like, there's different Batman universes. There's just people take a different take on the story, or a different take on the character, and that's. I guess that's all I'm saying is they don't cross over. You know, just because one person has like the Joker murdering a man doesn't mean that happened in the other one. You know, like there's just different
Totally.
different separations
Yeah, because
between these realities.
Joker's been in like 3 different movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Played by a bunch
So
of
for
different people.
talking the movies, like now he's like a 49-year-old man who's gonna,
What-
and then in the
when-
other ones he was
once-
Heath Ledger.
But
and
don't you
now,
think the new
when-
Joker movie is welcoming the rise of the incel?
Isn't that Joaquin Phoenix?
no
Yeah,
comment.
yeah.
When does that come out?
In
that's
a
like October
few
or
months,
sometime.
I think. Yeah,
Because I've heard it looks good. I don't know. I haven't
the
actually
trailer
watched
looks
it.
great to me, but there has been a fervor about it because they feel like it is glamorizing the story of the victimized white male, the self-victimized white male, and kind of going to give a lot of these a lot of the, we'll say, perpetrators of mass shootings.
Yes.
That there's a bit of a media panic saying that the movie might motivate more people to commit
become
mass
insane
shootings.
criminals, yes.
Well,
which I think is fucking insane.
Well,
But maybe I'm wrong.
Like the Dark Knight. I mean, Heath Ledger's character was extremely dark in that movie.
Oh, that movie
Yeah,
gave me
yeah.
a fucking panic attack.
Yeah, he was the villain.
It was like psychologically, like he was kind of a creepy
Well,
dude. Where
he kind of went crazy during it.
Well, that's I think part of. Well,
Well,
I don't know if
yes.
it's part that led to his demise, but I mean, I think I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of went into such a dark place.
I
couldn't come
did
out of it.
hear, from reading different accounts of people who knew him around that time that role did take a psychological toll on him, and then yes, he did leave this world at his own will
Won an Oscar.
posthumously.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow, damn.
somebody.
I mean,
I don't know who accepted it on his behalf, but he won it.
That,
He was
that-
good. I
saw
thought
that,
he deserved it.
I saw
for
that
sure.
film in theaters. It was the first time I had like a actual like physical
Wow,
sort of
wow.
panic attack.
Amazing. Saw it 3 times when it
Wow.
came out. It's 18 years old.
in the theater.
Yeah.
The creepiest movie I ever went and saw was Prisoners. Did you ever see that?
Never heard of it.
It was Hugh Jackman was in it about the kids being abducted.
Oh God.
It was freaky. I literally left the theater shaking, and I
Oh.
didn't have kids at
Wow.
the time. I watched that one. It was just like one because. Do you guys watch horror movies?
All the time.
Rarely.
Do you really?
Yeah, I mean,
'Cause I hate them because I don't find that they're.
when I'm working at home, especially, I'll just leave horror movies on in the background, which I don't know why, because usually it leaves me just feeling sick and disturbed, but it motivates me to keep working.
But see,
Because I'm not laughing, I'm kind of just like, ooh, I'm tense. I got to keep working.
like to me, horror movies.
man.
There's not a lot of like entertainment value. Which the thriller part, I guess, there's not either. But like, I don't find that the horror movies to me is kind of some of it's unbelievable, and I'm like, oh, it's whatever.
Well,
This
I'd rather
person-
watch those, I suppose.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the thriller movies.
I
Like,
think horror is like pornography. I don't think you should be watching too many of them.
Well,
either of those.
I agree.
what- the horror aspect, I think, of a thriller. The thing that's the reason why is because to me it's more realistic. Like it could happen.
Yeah.
If you guys watch Prisoners,
Yeah.
like you can like
Okay,
that shit
sure.
can happen. Where
Yeah.
if you go like.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know
see
enough.
what you
I don't
mean.
know enough horror movies, but if you go out and like all these like characters or like a clown comes out, I mean, there's obviously some fictional parts to
Right.
that. But if you take a thriller movie, when I say like a psychological thriller, those things can really kind of freak you out, even because they could happen.
It's very
Is that like
plausible.
is Dirty Harry a thriller?
I don't know.
I watched that a little while ago.
Yeah.
Now that I didn't know how freaky that movie would be.
It's such a good movie.
That is a great movie, but it's all within the realm of reality.
Yes.
I think.
I think
It's funny. I've been watching a lot of modern horror, and all the modern horror movies are basically for no reason, an insane person comes into your home and terrorizes and mutilates you until you're dead, that's horror now. Like modern horror is basically just that.
Kind
they're-
of like how in porn, that strange person just comes in and starts fucking you
yes,
until you're.
But they brought a pizza,
Come.
so it's all good.
but they're your
Right,
stepbrothers.
even
so
that's
it's
a
all
better
good.
motivation. Yeah, there's. Just
Anyway,
give me a pizza for crying out loud.
yes, I wouldn't mind a slice.
That's coming in open arms, in open legs.
Hey, speaking of arms wide open, are you guys going to see Scott Stapp at the Strand Center next weekend? This weekend?
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
All right. Did I say Scott Strapp?
I'm going to show him the night of his life.
The knife of his life?
Of his life.
All right.
Wait, Scott Strap.
Scott Stapp is the singer of...
Strap.
Scott Stapp is the lead singer of Creed.
That's what I'm going to name the DVD.
He's performing at the Strand.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Arms wide open. Nice. Is it just solo?
Solo. Well,
Acapella.
I think he has a... I want to believe he has a band with him.
Is Star
It could just be
92.9 from there?
karaoke tracks.
I think I heard him every time I was on the bus driving home from school. Every day there was Creed. Star 92.9. They were a big Creed playing station. I don't know any other song than that one. Is there another one? I mean, they got to have a couple.
With Arms Wide Open and I can't
My
remember.
sacrifice.
My Sacrifice.
Who was who was they just had somebody back, like a fairly big name there. I say big name, but I'd heard of them. They were on the radio. Who was it? Just came like in some-
Emerson Drive, possibly?
Yes. No, I think it was them, and I won't say who, but they said that. Have you listened to them? They're
Yeah, a
kinda
little
country?
bit.
Kinda-
Yeah, it's like modern country.
So someone told me that they were made for auto tune. Is that true? They got a good voice or no?
Oh.
Because like I think like when I think auto tune, I think like when I think auto tune, I think like Black Eyed Peas.
No, yeah.
That's the extreme use of it. That's a noticeable use
almost
of it.
all.
Yeah, 'cause I don't
Almost
think
all
they're that good
country
of
music
singers.
uses auto tune now.
You think so?
Almost all popular music uses auto tune. Actually,
Is it just
Yeah.
more to regulate so they don't have the imperfections?
Pretty
Yes.
much, yeah.
yeah.
Like one of the like concerts and stuff I love going to is like a Dave Matthews concert where I think you talked about before of having like either the violin or the sax or they kind of blend music. Like the one thing I like is they blend contemporary like rock to just you got a guy sitting there playing the the bass clarinet or some type of high pitched flute and they're
Yeah,
putting
they can
it
really
into,
rip sometimes.
yeah like they I think those guys are such what's that term, virtuosos of their respected instruments that
Surprisingly eclectic. I heard a live bootleg of theirs recently, and I was really taken aback by how much was going on.
like, I've seen a couple of their shows in the last probably 2-3 years, and it's just amazing. But like you kind of take that genre of music. That's the kind of stuff I like. But like to me, there's no auto tune on that.
No, I wouldn't.
I mean,
say
Yeah,
so.
to me, like those
certain
guys can
styles
just-
are still pretty untouched.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like that's the one that I always find. Like I always gravitate towards is the actual raw music because I appreciate it in the sense of like to me it's an art form where if you give someone a mic and they can doctor everything up. That's why like when you get what is it called, the EDM or like to me that stuff. I mean it's cool. There's obviously a talent to it, but I don't get all jazzed up for that. Like, have you
No,
ever been to
that's
one
a-
of those shows?
That's a different. Yeah,
Oh, a show.
I mean, you know what I mean?
well,
Show,
the only,
whatever.
The only time I've been to an EDM show, the sound system was so powerful that I could feel it in my rib cage and in my nostrils. Like the bass frequencies
Right, it's
were
an
like
experience for the
literally
audience.
from the floor up, traveling through my body and actually moving my insides in a way that I've never had a physical sensation like that before. And I began to realize like, wow, the EDM experience is being literally touched by the music and is not at all the same kind of energy you would have as someone playing an instrument and you kind of catching those vibes from their performance. That's a more human-to-human interaction.
Yeah.
Whereas the EDM is almost like the speakers and the vibrations are manipulating you, and that's a whole different sensation.
Yeah, all the work is done ahead of time.
And
it
it's
mostly
a
is.
lot less organic.
The people they press play, and that's it for the most part. Some might
Usually,
do
yeah.
a little more manipulating, but
so most of it
the,
is just
most of the best
preset
DJs
set list that they just goes
they
through.
did it all in their studio or in their bedroom or whatever. They wrote that ahead of time. They're pretty much just playing a track over really nice speakers, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. Like you're saying, you get something different out of it.
Yeah, but it's
And it
not the
does take
same as
talent
having an
to make
organic,
that
like human-to-human
happen, but-
interaction.
Well,
Right, it's not so much like watching a band.
Right.
You're going to a dance.
Well, I've talked about
experience,
before.
kind of.
I watched on the podcast talked about like Avicii was big into that, obviously.
yeah.
But I watched you watched the documentary and him.
No, I've seen
one-
clips, but
Yeah, like that one's. I mean, I won't give it away, but if you ever want to watch it, it's pretty good though. But they talk about like the amount of work that guy did. He basically, at the end of the day, I think just like worked himself to death. Unfortunately.
it's kind of seemed that way.
But he
put out a lot of
but,
stuff.
But yeah, I mean, but you talk like the amount of time that guy put in prior,
in a studio setting.
the prep work. Yeah, I mean, when you talk about going out on stage, like I think he was so burnt out from having to go perform the music. He loved the in studio grinding of the music, and then when it got to the point where he was expected to go out and perform, even though, like I said, it might be the same track, I think he just got burnt out of. That wasn't where his like true, like he loved the creativity of it, not so much the performance aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
then-
he got pulled in. I mean, it's a
was a
terrible
was a huge business, and I mean, obviously,
culture of drugs and just
Yes.
decadence too.
well, yeah, but
Oh yeah,
but,
everyone.
Because he drank himself to death, basically, right? I thought it was an alcohol thing.
he was taking pain
His liver
medicine.
like failed or something.
Well, he had a stomach issue, but I think it was like was like ulcers or something from
Okay.
stress, and then
Oh,
he ended
wow.
up taking pain medicine and got addicted to the painkillers because of how much pain he was in. And I think he just kept. I just don't think he ever was able to fully get comfortable. And then I don't know if it was Wikipedia says something totally different because of course I Wikipedia'd it, which you only take out. I mean, anybody can edit that. So, but yeah, I wasn't really sure exactly how he passed, but that's a pretty cool. If you guys can watch that, it's pretty cool.
It's on my watch list.
I got a few on my watch list, but did you guys? What do you guys want to do? You want to turn the lights on and go longer? You want to wrap it up, or what do you got?
I'm gonna go to dinner soon,
Okay,
but
wrap it up. It's
Let's
just
wrap
getting
it up.
darker. I just noticed how
Yeah.
dark it is in the
I've
studio.
had a great
Well,
time.
do we
so
have
far,
any-
though.
it's
Is there any way to wrap things up?
like
Like bring it all back around?
there's really no. I just figured today was going to be one we just shoot from the hip, which we kind of did.
Yeah, that felt
went
pretty
very
good. I
well.
feel
There's
like
not a lot of
Yeah, it was-
structure to any of my podcasts. If I don't really know you guys that well. Besides that, I've listened to your podcast and I kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I have an appreciation for what you're doing because when we went to, like, you just hit me up to go to SIP, and I
Yeah.
knew who you guys were, but like I didn't know. I actually, no offense, I didn't know who this guy was.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I didn't know you till you walked
yeah,
in.
Yeah, same thing. And I thought you had another podcast.
Making
and like,
connections.
Yeah, and you're like,
Yeah.
no. We actually did the same thing, which was a blast. But I had a good time because I know Matt's a very good buddy of mine, and Ryan, I've been, we've met before, but I just think the thing that you guys are doing and trying to push forward is kind of cool with the aspect of becoming more of an authoritative source of news, even though you're bringing the news to the people, but I think in
Right.
a much more, like you said, personal, or to me, it's like more easily digestible because I can relate to it.
Well, the goal is, and this is what the fundraiser that we're doing, the marathon, the 12-hour marathon is, I'm trying to raise money to buy a new camera, which is basically the same camera they'd use for local news production.
Like one of the big ones.
Yep.
Now, what do you guys film on now?
I have like a DSLR that I film on that it's good. It's just that if I were to have like an amateur camera person, there's no autofocus. There's no inputs for there's no traditional inputs for microphones. It's just, there's no zoom. It's really a camera that you kind of need to know how to use that camera to make it look good. What I'm trying to get is a competitive 4K news camera that's a point and shoot kind of camcorder that anyone could pick up and point it and do
So
it.
you're not
So-
talking like the big things
No,
you see.
it's pretty big. Yeah, I mean,
Oh, you are going
they're
for
big
one.
over
Yeah,
over the
You see
shoulder
some-
kind of.
The way I think of it is you see someone running up, and I've got the T-shirt in my hand to like represent the microphone. Like, sir, can you please comment on the recent allegations
And then
about
someone
your
walks over
Yep.
impropriety? And
So we're I'm
That's what we want.
By
Yeah.
the end of the year, I'm going to be purchasing one of those, and I intend to actually not just aggregate the news, but be the reporter as
once
well.
we put all the rest of them out of business.
Yes,
start-
because I
start
do
to generate.
think that
we're going to run out of sources to steal from, so we got to generate our own.
just make it up.
Yeah,
Just
I
actually
would not be
investigate.
surprised at all if I saw in the next 2 years the demise of at least one local paper.
Well, that actually, that's a good way to cut last topic is where do you guys see the news going? Because I mean, things have shifted every year. They're shifting tremendously. So like, because obviously you guys are very new, but in regards to print, I mean, I'm coming more from like the marketing aspect. I don't do
Right.
anything in print anymore because to me, nobody uses it. I've had TV people come up to me asking for. I've had radio stations come up, and nothing against those. I still think there's certain values.
Do you mean
to
as
it.
for advertising?
For
with them?
advertising aspect.
and the rates are insane.
Well, that's the thing. The problem is the reach is diminished so much for them to make money. They have to overcharge you for
Right.
reach. And like to me, I'm very big into marketing. Like I understand marketing. I understand where to put money to actually get it in front of people I need to or spread my awareness. And I can do it at a much cheaper rate. Like my cost per impression in certain aspects blows anybody out of the water. You can tell me how much people you reach, but are you really focused, reachable?
Right, and it sometimes I'll get the pitch because I handle all the advertising stuff for the most part for the co-op.
Yep.
So I get I get
Yeah.
every single pitch, and I'm also very well versed in marketing and stuff, and I know that if you're saying that you reach these many tens of thousands of people, that doesn't mean anything. You know how many times I've gotten X local mailer in my mailbox that I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
immediately put into the recycling bin and
Exactly.
never
I think about that.
looked at?
And I will name drop the Sun as one of those. I like take it out of my mailbox. Like, I never asked for this. Like, how much are you spending to send me this, to print this and send me this? Could you
Yeah.
save money by just not sending me this because I didn't ask for it?
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
know.
So,
Well, yeah,
I think the news is going away, and I think that what you will see is
Well,
more...
the news,
I'm
certain
sorry, I'm
news
sorry.
media, right?
Yeah,
I'd say
legacy media. I see a lot of squirming.
The papers are
Yeah.
papers will be dead within 10 years for sure.
I think less than
unless
that.
I could see there being small hold-ons. Like I could see like certain smaller papers, maybe like the Penny Saver, like where it's mostly classifieds.
But
I could see that hanging on for longer than I think you're going to see a real clear point
Yeah.
where there's no more ad revenue. Like everybody, there's a choke point that's going to happen where everybody who does advertise with like we'll say the Press Republican or a comparable paper in any other major city is going to realize that that's no longer working for them financially, and then there's no more revenue
Yeah.
for those papers.
But if you think, well, and I agree. The other thing too is if you take magazines. When I was say we were in high school, I had Sports Illustrated, I had Time magazine, I had a golf magazine. I would read these almost cover to cover.
Yeah.
Now I went probably a solid 3 years where I was still subscribed to those exact same magazines. I just honestly was too lazy to unsubscribe. But I would literally get them, stack them up. All of a sudden, 3, 4, 5, 6 would stack up. I just toss them out because I didn't have time to read them.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing now, we go back kind of like the Local Matters thing. The one that I read is Strictly Business, which is a local publication about local companies that does. To me, something like that might stick around.
Yeah,
but I think the
those
national
things-
sources won't.
Even like Rolling Stone, I think has gone to a bi-monthly, more premium
From
kind
the
of
week,
magazine.
from the old weekly.
Well,
right?
I think they were.
Was it monthly or was it?
I think they're either monthly or every 2 weeks, but they've gone to every other month, and they're doing a larger magazine, but they're doing a larger format. They're trying to make it look nicer with the paper stock and the photography. I've seen other magazines take similar measures to kind of like sort of position themselves as a premium product. That's only going to last for so long because it's you can tell that when you are doing a thing and then you try to go, hey, it's the same thing, but now it's fancy. That's so desperate, and that will fool a few people for a short
lipstick
time.
on a pig kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
It's going to go away. I think what you're going to see is more kind of things like what we're doing, where people who are kind of. I'm sorry.
That's our
I'm very
sponsor of
gassy
the-
right now.
It's charming.
People who are kind of on the outskirts of established media formats coming in and filling the vacuum, and I think you'll see a lot more sort of smaller operations filling the gap of what may have been one or two major local papers. I think you'll see people getting their news from several smaller clandestine sources.
yeah, no, good. I think it's good. We'll wrap up there because I know Austin's got to eat, and I don't know what time. What time is it now?
Oh, it's probably 7:40.
Oh, yeah, we got to get
39.
I'm hungry too.
7:42.
All right,
37.
We're gonna end there.
Damn.
I can't even read this now. What did it say? 49. It's
Yeah,
it's like
it's
for anybody-
pitch black.
you
We're
guys
going by
can't see it.
candlelight now.
Pitch black in the train lights that flew by. So no, Matt and Austin, I appreciate you guys stopping by. If you guys have not, please check them out. You guys are
Trashberg.com.
Yeah, tell them where to find you guys.
Trashberg.com.
Or Facebook.
Well,
Or the monopole sometimes.
Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, it's just
I have
Trashberg.
you guys on Apple Music.
That's how
Yeah,
I listen to
we're
us.
wherever
Yeah.
you go, we're there.
Spotify too.
Look for
Apple and
look for their
Spotify.
stickers, TBs all over the place. So no, they're doing some cool stuff. If you guys can, you guys are always looking for donations on. Was it Patreon?
Yeah, so if you do like what we do, you want to become a supporter. So there's a recurring charge through Patreon. So we have people who sign up for X number of dollars a month. It's at your discretion. And that's kind of the lifeblood of the show. Like it's allowed us to maintain our operating costs. We have a studio space, we have a website, we have software that we pay a monthly licensing fee on. There is a cost to doing what we do, and all the money left over goes into equipment upgrades to make everything that much sleeker and nicer. We've upgraded directly through Patreon contributions, upgraded the camera, the lighting, the microphones, even things like the chairs and tables. You know, we used to have very creaky chairs when we started. You know, that was terrible.
Yeah, and then like this isn't having the stone is nice for these little mic stands you have. We had a nice resonant wood table and everything sounded like Law and Order.
Well, that's when I did the one over there. People would be talking, they'd put the mic down, and I got a lot more. It wasn't terrible, but like if you had a mic down here and I kind of like adjusted you could hear it.
Oh yeah,
that's
big
why
time.
like I wanted to kind of come in here because that's the one good thing is that basically we're talking about, guys, I have like an arm that these things are on.
There's really nice, broadcast style boom stands for the mics here.
Yeah, so kind of keep the
and we got some of these ourselves directly thanks to our supporters.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to become one of them, go to trashberg.com. There's more info there.
I'll have you guys send me some stuff and put it in the show notes. So we're gonna end there, guys. We're gonna go get some food. If you guys can, please support these guys. I think they're doing some amazing things in the area. And as always, they're like I said, I'm very big supporters of anybody that is trying to make the area a better place. And they have some fun along the way. So again, please support them if you can. If not, at least just go listen to them. And if you see them on the street, at the co-op, at the monopole, say good job. So, all right. Thank you, guys. That is episode 49 of the Galen Trombley Show. Thanks for listening to the Galen Trombley Show. If you want to reach me, you can go on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. The spelling, GaelanTrombley.